Today, we're talking about fasting. Now, if you knew me in fasting, you would know that God set me up for a joke. Pastor John and Kim love fasting. Me, not so much. Several years ago, we actually talked them into, instead of fasting, let's do feasting this year. Let's take and invite people over and do lots of fun things and lots of food, and let's do feasting. And they tried it out, and they went back to fasting. Sorry. A number of years ago, we were going down to Reading to a youth conference, and it was during this. Normally, we take like the first 21 days or so. So we're starting the fast today, running it for 21 days. And so we were going down to a Jesus Culture, and I was driving the church van, and this guy who was kind of my co-pilot, his name was Andy, he's sitting over there, and he just opens up his snack bag, and he just starts eating. He's got jerky, he's got chocolate, he's got all these things. And we're in this fast. And I ask him, Andy, what are you fasting? He says, oh, aardvark. It's like, go, guy, go. It was during one of the fasts that Denise has her birthday in this period. So I don't know why we don't rotate fasting till like February and then March and whatever. Somehow it always seems to hit January, and something about starting out the new year, and that's okay. So we're down at Jesus Culture, and it's Kim's birthday, and we're all hanging out like after the event, and one of the other leaders brings out a chocolate cake. It's like, I think it might have been like a Costco cake or something, just really, really good chocolate. Starts slicing it up, takes the first slice. I told him, or I don't know who mentioned it, give it to John. So Pastor John is there. So he just takes it and without thinking starts to eat. And everybody just like, yes! We get chocolate cake tonight. It's good. Oh, my. So we're going to talk about fasting, and if you can tell, I come from a distorted view of it. So if it doesn't resonate with you, I just trust that you will connect. So I have a handout for you. Laurel, if you would help, and maybe April go that way. And I have some pens for you. Yeah. So if you don't have a pen, just ask them for a pen. You're welcome to draw smiley faces. You're welcome to make paper airplanes. You're welcome to underline, highlight. What I want you to do is somehow, I want you to connect somehow with fasting. So that's what we're up to today. Okay. Over the Christmas season, we had some house guests. And Simon and Shmima. And they are from Germany, and they are going to school down in Reading. And Shmima, when Laurel was down there, was her roommate. And one year, it's probably, 7 or 8 years ago? 8 years ago, she came up and spent Christmas with us when Laurel came home on her Christmas break. So we knew they were back down there, and now he's doing his first year. Shmima's doing her third year. And so we thought, let's invite him up for Christmas. And so when we had Shmima here, she just fit in so well. It was just like she just fit into our family. It was just like no problem, just lots of fun. So now we're inviting her husband, Simon, along as well. We do not know Simon. We have never met Simon. We don't know, but we've seen a picture of him. So we know that much. So we are on this journey to have these people in our home and get to know them. So if you're around our house at Christmas time, we believe in gifts. We believe in giving gifts. Nyla's, if you know her, you know she is a gift person. She will not, if you get a gift from her, she doesn't just grab it off the shelf, and if you like a blue one, she won't give you a red one. She wants to know what you like. She wants to know, is this going to be meaningful? So that's just her gifting. So we don't know Simon, and so we're going to do gifts for Simon. And so, Simon, what do you like? And so Nyla, she makes these books, incredible books. And so she makes this little book about, what do you call it, a junk journal? And it's a book like to put pictures in, to put memories in, to stick all this stuff in. And she just doesn't do it in English. She finds some German sayings, puts them on like the front. You know, what was the word? Blessing. Yeah. And so she makes this for them. Laurel, she buys some journals for them. It's just like, and it was like Simon's was leather bound. When he opened that, it's just like, wow, this is real leather. Nyla and I we decide to just, you know what, let's just, we're not sure, God, what should we give them? Let's just go up and down 3rd Street and see what stands out. So we end up getting them like some sweatshirts that match, that say McMinnville. We kind of know what size she is, but we don't know what size he is totally. So we got him a size. When he opened the package and went to put it on, it was like, nah, this is too big. So we got to exchange it, and they got it something else. But our goal was to have these guys into our home, to bless them, and to get to know them. So when they show up, Simon, I tell him, you just make yourself at home with whatever. Fridge, food, whatever, help yourself. So he would normally be one of the early ones to get up. And Simon, I don't know what his record is for eating oatmeal every morning, but he loves oatmeal. And so it would be like the pot sitting there, mix up some oats, start adding whatever to it. And so he likes not just plain oats, he likes to add lots of things. So we set out all these different things. So it's the first morning he's eating breakfast, and I get up and I'm not quite so keen on oatmeal. And so if I have a chance, it's like I'm going to make myself a waffle. And so when I make waffles, I put some batter in. I take an apple and I grate it, and I put that in the batter, and I add cinnamon, and then I cook that, and then on top you put things like peanut butter or jelly and maple syrup, and you just have this awesome breakfast. And so Simon is over there eating his oatmeal, and he looks over and sees what I'm eating, and he's like, a waffle. He had eaten too much that day, but he said, I would like a waffle. And so I made him a waffle the next morning. And he would just get up and make himself at home in our house, and it was just awesome. So it's like, Simon, what would you like to do when you're here? And so what he wanted to do was a couple things. He likes to hike, and so he wanted to go on some hikes, and then he wanted to go to an NBA game. And so it's like, awesome, man. My whole life's purpose was to spoil these guys and just to bless this young couple. So we eat this lunch. Nyla had just prepared food like crazy. It was just awesome time. And so we eat this big lunch, and okay, now we're ready for a hike. How many of you guys have been up to Miller Woods, hiking up there? So you go up Breaker Creek Road and kind of follow around, and it's a county park, and they have all these cool trails around there. And you can take like a trail that's just the short one, you can take the long one, you can take the extra long one that goes all around. So the trail, though, is only about this wide, most of it, and you're kind of just winding through the trees. And so I am walking next to Simon. He's behind me or in front of me, and we're just talking. And I didn't go on that hike to become intimate with him, but that was kind of what happened. We're hiking along, and he starts telling me about his dad. He starts telling me about some of his dreams. He starts telling me about different things in his life. And so we walk for, I don't know, an hour or two, and I want to know this guy, but I didn't know the hike would be the tool. So then, another day, one thing he found out that we have access to some guns, and in Germany, they don't get to play with guns. And so he had shot an air pistol before, but he had never shot like a bigger gun. And so made the connection with guns, and him, Simon and I and this other gentleman go out to the spot, target practicing, pistols, set out a target there, boom, 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 lots of fun. Simon is an incredible shot. For not ever shooting, he was just incredible. Then he starts shooting a rifle. And so when he starts to shoot the rifle, I look and he's leaning way over. And he doesn't have his right eye open. He's got his left eye open. And so I learned something else about him. Oh, this guy is like left eye dominant or whatever. So if he was shooting right-handed, he would lean way over where he could see with his left eye down the gun. And so then the gentleman with us said, why don't you try shooting left-handed? So no problem. He just switches over left hand, boom, 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 and he's hitting his target. And it's just like, wow. And so we had lots of fun shooting together. I learned that this guy is an incredible athlete. He is actually like a gym teacher back in Germany, and you don't just get to kind of know stuff. It's like you have to actually be able to do it. And so he was just able to just quickly take a gun and learn how to shoot and just hit the targets. We go to the NBA game. So I'm doing this strictly for Simon. I am not doing this for myself. I would have rather stayed at home that night. But because we're going with Simon, we're going to take Shmima, we're going to take Laurel and Urbans, we're going to take Corinne and Jacob, and off we go to the NBA game. Now, I had never been, how many of you guys have been to a Blazer game? So you guys know, it's like you pay so much for the tickets, and so I had bought them like a week or so before, and I wanted 7 seats in a row, so that means that we were not courtside. We were like way up in the top, but it was okay. And it also means when you park, it was like, I don't know where to park, but I don't want to get lost. Oh, they have one right here. So I paid like $70 to park my car. Is that the record, or if some of you guys paid more? That's a record? All right. They saw me coming. And so everybody's enjoying the game, and Simon, he knows all this stuff about basketball, even though he's German, and that's not their major sport. And then at halftime, they get these people out there that are doing like, it's a girls group that's doing tumbling and stuff like that. And so Shmima is a dancer. That's what she likes to do. So I asked her, Shmima, do you do all this stuff? She says, no, Simon does. And it's like, Simon does? And these guys are like doing flips and all this stuff. And he tells me, yeah. He says, to get my degree in Germany, you have to do these things. He said, so for me, it was lots of landing on my bum. And but he got to where he could do it. And so I learned something else about Simon. And so I spend these days with him. It wasn't quite a week. And so I know several things about Simon. We're sitting around, and so we have a fireplace in our living room. So it was like, have you guys ever, I found out they'd never started a fire. And so it's like, okay, And so I go out and I split the kindling, get some bigger pieces, get some paper, kind of stack it in. How many of you guys do the teepee method when you start a fire? Yeah. So that's kind of what I had it all set up, and they were putting it together, start the fire, and we just had a fun time sitting in front of it. A while later, Jacob is getting ready to start another fire, and I had just told these guys, this is the way you build a fire. You put paper, you put little pieces, you put bigger pieces, you let the fire flame through, and it'll just go. Jacob takes some boards and lays them in the bottom of the fireplace, big boards. And then he starts building a fire on top of that. And so it was like, you guys are going to be totally confused. Jacob, what are you up to? Why are you building a fire like this? Jacob loves to go to the beach and build fires. So he says, I put the pieces on the bottom so it doesn't get wet. And then I build my fire. And so those guys could accept that. They are now certified fire builders and all that we do. So we spent a week or so, and I got to know somebody that I didn't know at all. Now you know them a little bit. And they go back to Germany. Or back to Reading, where they're going to school. I'm circling the wagon with some different things, and what I really want to say is that we want to know God, and fasting is a tool. And so I'm going to circle the wagon again. So about September or so, I see that this class is being offered. It's like a online class, and it's called Solutionaries Intensive. And the way that they tag it is that God is always talking. He has answers from heaven. And so how do we learn to access what heaven is saying? And so that is something that I want to know. It's like I want to know what's going on in the invisible. Even this morning, what's going on in the invisible in this service? We're all here, but Holy Spirit is here. Holy Spirit, what's going on? And so it's like I want to know. So they have us do some things in this class. This class is like about 5 hours a week they say it's going to take. I normally run fairly busy in my life, and Freedom class is starting in October, and normally I always come to Freedom class, and the class is Tuesday and Thursday nights, and it goes for like a couple hours each night. And so I think I can fit this into my schedule. I can do this. So I sign up, and so the class starts, and it's awesome because Freedom class hasn't started yet, and so I can squeeze a couple hours. It means I don't get to eat supper with my family because I'm giving up something to do this class. That's right in the time. It's not a class that you just can sit back and watch. It's like you interact. They put you in breakout sessions and all this sort of stuff. One of the things they do is they say, okay, Peter, I want you to think of something, but don't tell me what it is. And then I'm going to ask God what it is and tell you, and you let me know how I'm doing. Putting yourself in a non-high stakes environment to God, how can I tap into what heaven is saying? How can I tap into knowing you, bringing real solutions out of heaven to earth? So it's like we try this, and I just strike out. It's like, no, not at all. And we do it again, and I'm sharing with this lady that I've never met, and I tell her some things, and she's like, that's right on. And then she texts me a little later in the Zoom. She said, you mentioned something about a sister, and this gal just called me who is like my sister. And it's like, oh God, I hit it. But the problem is I don't know how it feels to hit it and how it feels to miss, because I'm just coming out of the same spot. And what I want to learn is, God, how does it feel like to hear you where I can connect that. And so that's what I'm after. So I am after getting to know the invisible God. You know, I got to know Simon. I know some tools, hang out with him, spend time with him, talk with him. And so now I'm after God. God, how do I hear from you? What's it like to know you in this way? And it's like an adventure. It's like starting to ride a bike my first day out. And this time I crash, and the next time I get 5 feet. But there's something inside about God, you are available to know, and I want to know you. So you have a paper there, and that paper, we're talking about fasting. Now, I always used to look at fasting as kind of what I was giving up. And this year, I'm more looking at it, God, what do you want to give me that's in the way of you giving that to me? So normally we talk about, it says there's a definition of fasting down there. Fasting is the practice of abstaining or restricting intake of food or drink for both for a specific period of time. And so we think of fasting as abstaining from something, of giving up something. It was really interesting reading that verse in Isaiah up above there. He says, you cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. Is this the kind of fast I have chosen? Only a day for people to humble themselves, only for bowing one's head like a reed and for laying in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? So those are like things where we're abstaining from. You know, we're humbling ourselves, we're bowing our heads. He said, is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice, to untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free, and to break every yoke. Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. And so these are all like things that we're doing. It's like there's normally fasting is like abstaining, but God says my fast and all those things, like if you, in the New Testament, he says this is what makes up my kingdom, to do these things. And so to bring, how can I bring your kingdom to my world? He said that is a fast that's acceptable to me. I copied most everything else that you have there from different people to tap into it, just because I had a day to prepare and it was there. So the invitation for us is clear: to make room in our lives to feast on his presence, making consecrated time to be with him daily through fasting. Whatever he is giving us direction and grace to remove from our lives for a week. We're doing it for 3 weeks. We see this as a time of the Lord wooing us to a banquet of encounters and an invitation to a closer union with him. And the question is, God, I want to know you in these 3 weeks. I want to take a special effort. It's like Simon's kind of knocking on my door, and he's going to be with me for a week. And I have an opportunity to do all these things, to hang out with him, to get to know him. God is knocking on our door, and he says, hey, you know, it doesn't have to be just now, but this is an opportunity to seek me for like 3 weeks. See what'll happen. And so to do that, there's some things that we'll abstain from, and then you need to ask God, what is that for you? And then, God, what do you want to fill in place of that in my life? What do you want me to do? And so it's not just being empty, it's actually stepping into where we're feasting with God. A fast involves sacrificing something important, even vital, like food. And often John will talk about doing like a Daniel fast, which is like fruits and vegetables or different things. You're welcome to do whatever God would direct you to do. To create time, space, and focus to commune with God about the things on his heart and yours. In this way, fasting is feasting on his sustaining presence. The goal is to draw near to God, so it always involves speaking and listening to God. Merely abstaining from food or some other activity is not the goal, but a means to create the space to focus on our communion with him. You come out of this knowing one more thing about God, it's like awesome. If you come out of this just totally rocked, that's awesome too. So we have this opportunity. And so on your paper, it says, Jesus, what would you like me to set aside for the next 3 weeks? And so I just encourage you to think about that, and then just kind of make a deal with them. Hey, I want to try this just to see, what's going to be the result of it. And then ask him, Jesus, how do you want me to use this time? Another tool is, as April mentioned, if you get on our church website, John is writing a devotion for every day. And I would encourage you to get on and look at that and see what he is writing. It'll help you stay connected with his heart and kind of his vision for the church. And so our church website is nwharvestchurch.org if you have never been on it. And April's just updated it, and it's really awesome. So that is available. Okay. What's up with this stuff? So right now, my life is kind of full. Going along here. But I have a hunger for something. Oh, I lost a balloon. Oh, no. Coffee. Oh. Do you want me to give up coffee? Just saying. You don't have to agree. Because, yeah. He's got a big basket of good stuff for me. And it doesn't really fit in with all this other stuff. So if I get rid of something, it makes some space for him to come in. This one is TV and social media. God, do you want me to give that up for 3 weeks? What would you want to replace it with? Oh, maybe some times of just laughing together, just hanging out and just, sharing life. I was laughing with them about, you got me set up to talk about fasting, you rascal. It's just like, I'm probably the worst. Sweets, things like that you can give up. What does God have for us? He's got things like adventures for us. I was thinking today, that when we're here, it's like how awesome it would be if Jesus was here physically. But he says, it's better that I go away and send you the Holy Spirit. So then it's like, God, what's that really look like? That it's better that Holy Spirit is here. Do I even feel Holy Spirit? Am I even talking with Holy Spirit? Is Holy Spirit even doing anything with me? God, what's that look like? How can I adventure with you and just try something and just say, Holy Spirit, you are better than having physical Jesus here. What's that look like? And just kind of show up. Hey, I want to focus in on that. Food is kind of an obvious one. God, what do you want me to do with food? And so he's got all these things, and I was planning on sticking them all in my backpack, but they don't all fit, and it's like you can come back for more. What you walk away with, you can come back and say, hey, God, I just want to feel love today. What's it like when you really love me? What's that feel like? where you look at me and I feel so special. I just feel like you care for me so much. I just feel like I want to run into your arms, hug on you. Joy. He's got joy for us. Yeah. Friendship. Forgiveness. Lots of different things here that God has for us. That he wants to come in and interact with us during these days. Nyla and I, it's like we've recognized over our life that one thing that we don't do really well, we're both internal processors, and so we don't tend to process with words really well. And so what we've done is we've put ourselves, hey, we need some help in this area. How can we put ourselves in a spot where we're better at this? Right now we're doing this book here, Atlas of the Heart. It's like 87 or whatever different emotions. So we just sit down and read this. She reads to me, and I pay attention. And it's like we're trying to get somewhere, and so we're bringing in a tool to help us to get further in something that we're not really good at. So what does Holy Spirit have for you in the next 3 weeks? Is it a book to sit down with your spouse? Is it, hey, spend some extra time on walks with me? Hey, just spend some extra time in the Word with me. What would he have for you if you create some space for him? So that's the goal. Create some space, and then don't, if you get the board version of him, kind of just say, hey, I need some adventure. I need the live stuff. Don't just settle for something that's just like facts when you could have him alive, showing up in your life and just rocking you with insight, rocking you with revelation of who he is, just making it like, we sing about being in awe of him. How do I create? Okay, I created a little bit of time, but I didn't feel you showing up with awe. So what do I do that's different? Okay, I'm going to try something radical. I'm going to go put some worship music on and just crank it up. And I'm just going to maybe put headphones on or whatever. And God, what happens? And maybe if that doesn't get the result, then it's like you shut the door and you just get in there alone with God and you just begin to see, God, you're so awesome. My emotions don't get me there. I'm not there, but I just know it. And so I'm going to praise you. And you begin to just jump around and dance and tell him how awesome he is. And you just go for it. And then you just say, hey, how was this time together? When we took Simon out shooting, it was like, man, you smell the gunpowder, you got the rifle hitting your shoulder. We're wearing earmuffs because those things are loud. Boom, boom, boom. Just rapid fire. It's like Jesus is more exciting than shooting guns. He's more exciting. And so take this time to be adventurous and say, God, I want to really connect with you. Show me how to do that. Father, I thank you that, wow, you are just so incredible. You give us words like, hey, if you guys will open wide your mouth, I will fill it. You give us words like, hey, I want you to be totally under the control of Holy Spirit. What's that look like? God, would you just take us and energize our hearts to seek you? And we're going to set something aside, but that's not really our focus. Our focus is to connect with you and to bring your kingdom to our world. I just thank you for each one here and what you're going to talk to them about and the encounters you're going to give them over the next 3 weeks. And we just bless you to go and to be awesome. Thank you guys for coming today.